Welcome to How to Be a Person, a podcast about life with me, your host, Giuliano Grumaudo. Sasha, thanks so much for joining me. How's it going?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. So for anybody listening and for me as well, because I haven't met you yet, tell me a little bit about you and we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, I am Sasha Eburne. I am a business coach for virtual assistants and online business managers, and I live in the Gold Coast in Australia.
Amazing. By your accent, is it safe to assume you've always been there?
Yeah. Oh, well, I spent a little bit of time in the Middle East and a bit of time in Vanuatu, but I have been told that I don't have that normal Australian twang.
Well, I guess I don't know enough about it, but I hear your accent, and so I just assume you've always been there. But that's cool. That's cool. So tell me a little bit about your story. You said you do business coaching?
Yeah, I do. I came from 25 years of hospitality and events experience, and I predominantly had always had a career in hotels. And pretty much straight as soon as I didn't finish school, I went to college instead and studied hospitality and events, and pretty much started working full-time in hotels from the age of 17 and worked my way up to management, and was lucky enough to spend some time in hotels in the Middle East and in Vanuatu and all down the east coast of Australia. And then COVID happened and pretty much changed my life. We were the first hotel that entered the quarantine program in Australia, because that's where we housed all of our international rivals in hotel. They had to go in for 2 weeks bound to their room in solitude in quarantine. So pretty much we were all stood down, no work, in and out of jobs for about a year. And I've always been quite a driven person, but always kind of had that. I always like to say I was an entrepreneur in an employee's body, and always wanted to be a business owner. And I had my daughter in 2019, right before COVID. So it was actually a blessing in disguise, because I literally went back from maternity leave and no job. So I was at home for a little bit longer than expected. But during the pandemic, when we're all at home, I decided to join a company. I'm not too sure if they have it in the US, but it was a bit of network marketing, but it was the Body Shop at home, which the Body Shop is quite a well-known brand here in Australia. We actually have shops in the malls. And I sold an ex-colleague some of these products, because I was doing facials at home on Zoom and connecting with people over wine. And I went and met her outside of a cafe, because we weren't allowed in the cafes at that point. And I said to her, "What are you doing?" And she'd been made redundant twice in 2 years from the tourism industry. And she said, "I'm a virtual assistant and I make more in 3 days in my business than I did 5 days in a hotel." And I was just like, "Tell me more." I was always interested about these business models.
Of course.
Yeah, I watched the space for 6 months and I didn't jump. And then I was trying my luck in a different industry. I went and joined the real estate industry and worked out very quickly that wasn't the industry that was for me. And one week I found all of these leads for virtual assistants in Facebook groups, and I created my website, registered my business. And then within 24 hours of doing that, I had my first client.
Wow.
So that's kind of where it all started. And I did my job and my business with 12 hours for a client for 1 week. And then I kind of was just like, if I quit my job, how many more hours could I have trying to get more clients? So within a week, I quit my job, and then I had to give a week's notice. And then within 24 hours of resigning, I had another client. And then within 3 weeks, I was fully booked.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. That's not like most people when they like go start a business, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, long story short, 4 months later, I started showing other people how to do it. 6 months later, we grew to a team of 15, and we had many different clients around the country. We doubled the business in 2 years. And then really, from that 4 months where I started teaching people how to do it, I actually didn't know what a business coach was. It was just kind of slowly over time. And then the more and more I helped people, the more I really wanted to step into the coaching space and not just help people start their business, but also scale their business, because I scaled mine really quickly, as well as not just my virtual assistant business, but now my coaching business as well. So in August 2023, I went all in on coaching, and we still have the virtual assistant business to this day, but my team predominantly look after all the clients there. So it still earns a good little income over there. And I literally work 1 hour a day in that space. And now I get to do what I love, and I get to support women not only start their business, but also scale their business as well.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. I mean, there's a lot to
Thank
dig
you.
into there. So, I really resonate with what you said before about like an entrepreneur in an employee's body because, like that was 100% me for a very long time. And
Yeah.
like, I feel like in my experience, I like jumped around to so many different jobs. Like, I literally can't even remember all of the jobs I've had because it's just been so many. And I think for me, it was because I was just like meant to be an entrepreneur. I was meant to
Yeah.
work for myself. And I don't mean that in the sense of like, I think some people, and this isn't a bad thing, but I think some people want to be entrepreneurs simply because they want to be in control and in charge. And I do want that, but that wasn't really what it was for me. For me, it was more about like I got bored very easily but not because it was just like, oh, this is boring. I just got good at everything really quickly, right? I would learn something and I'd be like, okay, I can do this now, and now I'm bored. Right. And I would just be like, well, now I want to do something else. Like, I'm tired of this, you know? And so I would go and like try another thing and try another thing. And so I feel like I was never meant to like just be in a job, quite honestly, for any length of time, because I would get into a job and then I'd get bored and jump ship and all that stuff. So yeah, that really resonated with me. But I think it's pretty interesting that you went from like having that job to like getting booked out so quickly. Like, what happened? I mean, I understand, like you said, that you saw like kind of leads in the Facebook group, but like for the people that you've taught, have they gotten similar results, like getting booked out that quickly?
Some do, yes, very much so. I had one particular client, she started earning 10K per month within the first few months. I have another
Yeah.
client that started with me in July, and by November she was earning 13K months. So it can happen really quickly. And I
Mm,
think the benefit of me showing others is throughout the time that I did spend, deep in my virtual assistant business, is I worked out what worked. I tried and
mm,
tested, or,
yeah.
now I've implemented strategies to, show up on discovery calls with clients and not actually sell, like have them actually compelled to buy rather than convinced to buy, and really kind of strategizing what I just kind of worked out over time. So I think
Mm,
that kind of helps people move really quickly. So
yeah.
in terms of what strategies work, Facebook groups, 100%. To this day, both of my businesses, 85% of the business is built on Facebook groups.
What? Okay, you're going to have to explain that a little bit. But
Yes.
go ahead, finish your thought. I
Yeah.
want to talk
And
about that.
the other one is just connecting. So, because I love learning, I actually just reached out to other virtual assistants and said, "Hey, can we have a virtual coffee? I've just started in the industry." And everyone was so welcoming. Yeah, sure, let's just jump on Zoom. I'm
Wow.
like, what do you do? What sort of clients do you look after? And like nobody at one stage was just like, "Oh, you're a competitor. We can't have this conversation."
Mm,
Everybody was like, "Sure, let's just jump on a call. We're all the same." And then I started going to some networking events. I started networking online and just started connecting with people, and then it just flowed. As well as, they say in the beginning, shout it from the rooftop. So I had a couple of old clients from the hotel industry reach out to be like, can we just jump on a call? I want to see what you do. And
yeah.
by the end of the call, they're like, okay, cool, can you just run my business while I go on holidays? So a lot of it came just organically through relationships that I'd built over the past in my career as well.
Wow, so interesting. Well, I am curious because so my wife actually does a little bit of virtual assistant work,
Yeah.
and I've definitely heard a lot of people talking about doing virtual assistant work. But like, can you explain it a little bit in case somebody listening doesn't know? But also, I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, what more there is to it, maybe that like that I don't.
Yeah, for sure. So virtual assistant is essentially the vehicle that we use as a remote business support. And generally they're
Mm,
business owners. So it kind of started off being a little bit more of an independent contractor, sort of freelance to kind of help businesses, but now it's really morphed into a business to business relationship. And what a virtual assistant can offer in terms of services is kind of endless because, like I said, it's just the vehicle. So you have the ones that kind of stay in the administration lane, administration support, but then you have the others that might go a little bit further into marketing or social media. So there's,
mm,
you could be a VA that offers marketing services or strategies. There are
mm,
some VAs that offer website services and things like that, but then they might later on decide to call themselves a website designer. So it's
mm,
kind of that at the moment in the business industry where people are like, oh, you need help. Okay, go hire a virtual assistant. So it's kind of like the go-to for the first
mm,
hire. So it's kind of like be there and be that person. So using the virtual assistant avenue as the vehicle, but then they might offer so much more.
That's
So
super interesting.
then there's a very big difference to I know in the US, a lot of virtual assistants come out of, Mexico and Latin America and potentially even, access to the Philippines as well. We have that too, but it's very different. So the Australian virtual assistants are really kind of providing that senior level type of expertise. We've all come from, high end 9 to 5 jobs generally. And it's more about like, how can we go into someone's business and actually provide that high level service where we're taking the onus off the business owner that we're working with to actually drive the relationship, drive the task, and actually kind of come in as that, partner rather than a doer. So we're not there just to take a list. Whereas if you hire from the Philippines, you really have to kind of manage them on a 24/7 basis to making sure that they're doing it the right way. Whereas because of the experience that a lot of the virtual assistants in Australia have, it's kind of like when you hire an employee, you kind of show them what to do and then they go do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of that mentality as well. So I teach my clients to really kind of position themselves to premium clients that are willing to pay premium rates because of the level of expertise and the service that they're going to provide. And it allows the business owner just to get on with their business.
Yeah, I can see that. It's almost like executive assistant as opposed to well, I mean, because it's virtual, right? So that's why you're calling yourself virtual assistant.
Correct.
But like there's a difference between just hiring a personal assistant versus an executive assistant. That's someone that like you're handing responsibilities of the business off to. Oh, that's super interesting.
Exactly.
So when it comes to the Facebook group thing, this is interesting to me because well, I didn't address this before, but like you were talking about network marketing. I have experience in network marketing, and there was a point where I was offering like a course and like some coaching and stuff like that through network marketing, and I was getting clients through a Facebook group. But I'm curious, like what like that encompasses with what you're doing, because for me, it was more like I was building a branded Facebook group that people were joining, and then I was selling through that. But I'm curious if that's what you're talking about, or if you're more like, oh, we're just going into Facebook groups where there's, people needing assistance, et cetera. So I'm just curious to hear what you have to say about it.
Correct. So in terms of creating your own Facebook group, I now have that and bring people in and provide like free masterclasses, go live and all of that. So that was kind of like a later strategy, but we've built that up quite a lot. We've got about 5,500 members in that.
Nice.
The original strategy and still to the strategy is other Facebook groups. So like local community groups, we have entrepreneur women Facebook groups, we have niche Facebook groups. So like people that are say in, the trades, there's one for like plumbers and repairmen and things like that kind of need support in their business because they're just out inside all day, or builders or so there's specific niche groups, there's specific community groups in terms of your local area, and then there's say niche in terms of like 7-figure businesswomen or 8-figure and just kind of entrepreneurs depending on different things. And what I'm finding that still to this day is that's where people go. So that is just the buying behavior that I'm seeing, that even if someone's like, I want a plumber, they'll go to the local, say to me, like, who's the local plumber? Who do you recommend? Because one, we want them to show up. We also want them to answer the phone. So there's kind of all of that. So a lot of people like, I need a virtual assistant. This is what I need. Can you comment below and tell me what you have to offer? So what I found out in the beginning was there's a lot of people responding, right? So there is a strategy to respond to those leads in the comments to stand out from everybody else. Then there's also how can you go to that next step? So you're not just commenting and ghosting, so to speak. How can you go and connect with them maybe on LinkedIn? How could you maybe go and send them a voice note on Instagram just to kind of really get in front of them and be a little bit different?
Yeah.
As well as one of my number one rules in those Facebook groups is give more than you take. So if somebody's going in there and saying, hey, I've just started my business, here's my website, can someone take a look? Take 5 minutes to jump in and actually give value. Not only does it help the algorithm for your content to be pushed through, but it's kind of that what goes around comes around, is just, help other people out. And I'm all about helping other business women out in the space. Everybody else deserves the opportunities that we have had. And then lots of different Facebook groups have promo days. So that is where you can say pitching your lead magnet and be growing your database that way, or curiosity posts to be like, hey, I've just had a spot become available for VA services for 5 hours. Who needs some help in their business? And what we've actually developed over time is an amazing whiz-bang spreadsheet that actually has all of the Facebook groups and all of the days that you can promote. So you can literally just spend 15 minutes a day. Here's my lead magnet, pop it in the group. So it's very much a daily strategy to kind of help those leads coming in, but also they're warm leads. There are people out there looking for virtual assistants every day, rather than using, some cold strategies or cold emails or cold outreach, which people see as very spammy. You can also get lost. It's just a really nice warm way to find what we call low-hanging fruit. So that's been a strategy that I found really easy in the beginning, and still to this day, it's just a game changer. And that's one of the biggest strategies that I teach.
Well, I love that too. I mean, even just if somebody's like has their own business and something else, that's super helpful advice, because I think a lot of people don't realize this, which is hilarious. But like, you just go into any local Facebook groups and people are constantly asking for recommendations for things. Like, it's really surprising. Facebook is almost like just kind of like a way to network that like people don't realize is there. Especially with as far as local Facebook groups go. And like, people will go to ask for recommendations, but for some reason it seems like business owners, some like don't make that connection that like people are asking for this stuff all the time. Like literally every day on Facebook, does anyone know a plumber? Does anyone know this XYZ,
Exactly. It's not just this industry. It could be any kind of business as well. It's kind of like the new Google. Why would you go into Google to then sort through everything? You just ask people, because people want trusted suppliers and things like that. And if somebody else has had the experience, they're like, oh, well, they must be good.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's almost like you have this, well, because obviously you have friends on Facebook, but you know what I mean? It's almost like as if you could just consult like a group of people that are around you. Like, what do you guys all think? And then people go like, I like this person. I like this person. And like you said, you're getting a recommendation instead of like a search result. And I think that's like what people value, right? They're like, oh, a real person is telling me they had a good experience with this, as opposed to just like, oh, I searched and like they came up. And I mean, that's valuable, right? That is valuable for a business if someone searches and you come up. Correct. But it's even more valuable that someone feels like they got like a recommendation from someone. And I like what you said too about adding value in the group, because there's a lot of times when I see posts like that when they're like, oh, I need a recommendation for XYZ. And then you see like a handful of people all recommending the same person, right? They'd be like, oh, so-and-so this, so-and-so that. And you're like, okay, this person knows what they're doing in this group.
100%. When you dominate a post, that's when it gets to be easy. So a lot of times, especially here on the Gold Coast, like a lot of people are starting to be like, Sasha's the go-to for virtual assistants. There'll probably be 8 or 9 people that be like, you want to start your business, go and chat to Sasha. Or if you're going to start, or if you want to scale your business, chat to Sasha. And then that's when you get to dominate a post. And it's very hard for that person to avoid seeing that. And 9 times out of 10, they'll actually reach out and, become a client that way. So once you kind of, get to a certain spot, and that's where showing up as well, because people started recommending me, if you're talking about the virtual assistant business, because I was, 1, networking, and 2, because I was always showing up on those Facebook groups. People just started recommending me, and I had no idea who they were.
They just saw you.
They just saw me, and they saw what I was offering. So they're like, oh, well, that's Sasha. She does that. And then it just kind of grew, and I'm like, and then I developed that into a strategy. I'm like, just get seen and heard. And then people will start recommending you. And that's where the networking comes, in the word of mouth, because the more people you know, the more people you network with, 9 times out of 10, they're just going to shout you from the rooftops anyway.
Yeah, so true. Well, and also, I mean, you just like business in general, also like as you just get your first clients and you give them like you do a good job for them, it's like you can ask for referrals, then they start recommending you to people. And it's like you can just kind of get that snowball effect going. Like, I think, and you probably teach for people to do this continuously, but also it's like you have that other aspect to it where like as you're building the business, it just kind of snowballs. And like, I'm harping on this because I feel like there's a lot of people who will start a business and they sometimes just like don't know where to start when it comes to getting clients. And if you can find something in the beginning where you can just like pound away at it and it like gets you a client, another client, it's like then you can get that ball rolling,
Correct. Then your clients start shouting you from the rooftops, and then that's where you get social proof.
Yes. Well, and I feel like, because you're in coaching, you probably understand this, but like I think it's funny, right? Like you were saying before about like competition, like I really feel like business owners like competition is not as big of a thing as you think it's going to be. Like I feel like most business owners want to see other business owners succeed. I know I do, right? And so like that's why I'm just like whenever I have something valuable, like I definitely want to share it with other people, you know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said from that, and I think that's when you become a leader, right? And it's
Mm,
about also realizing, and I tell my clients this, especially in Australia, there's 2.6 million businesses. Like there is actually plenty for everybody, and I do just want everybody to win because I think we all can,
mhm.
and I believe that everybody can, and I also believe that everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses as well. There
Yes.
are obviously there's other coaches in Australia doing what I do, and I at the end of the day I want them to succeed because one, I can't service everybody,
Yep.
and two, we have two very different people. We're just organically going to draw in our own clients. And I'm totally fine with that. Like, I don't
Yeah.
compete with them. I don't watch what they do. I run my own race. And at the end of the day, I also want them to win because there's plenty of other people that might not align with me or my approach that then they might
Mhm.
align with somebody else. And at the end of the day, as long as they get the help that they need and then they get to succeed, then it's 100% collaboration over competition every day.
Yeah. It's so funny to hear you say that too and just kind of echo what I was saying because really like I feel like if you're not in it, people think that like business is like this like cutthroat thing and you're just like it's really not like that at all. Like every other business owner I meet is has the same attitude, like collaboration over competition because I think if you have just any level of experience and I would even just say like maturity, you realize like just as a person, like not even a business owner, as a person, you realize that like not everyone's going to like you, not everyone is going to be friends with you, not everyone's going to agree with you and you're okay with that, right? And so like it's just natural then that as a business owner those same things you would understand. You'd be like not
Yeah.
everybody is going to like the way I do business. Not everybody is like I'm not even going to be able to help everybody because I don't have the experience to, or I don't have like maybe the way I teach is different than the way that that person learns or whatever it might be. So yeah, yeah. I love that. So you went from having a virtual assistant business to helping other people grow a virtual assistant business to now are you saying that you do business coaching just in general?
It's generally for virtual assistant business
Okay.
owners.
Okay.
And there's also, I don't know if you use the term over there, an online business manager, which
Okay.
essentially is the same, but in the online space, I just kind of see it more as that higher level business manager, kind of potentially maybe running a team for the client, maybe more of an operations. But again, there's not really too much definition. It's more about what the client needs and how you can help them. That's potentially really the only difference. But some people like to position themselves as online business managers, but sometimes not everyone knows what it is. So you kind of need to use the VA vehicle to kind of attract the clients. But that's predominantly in the space that I fit just because of the success that I had in my VA business.
Yeah.
And though that trickles through because clients' businesses diversify. So I've had some
Mm,
decide to also run their business, but then also become coaches. And because I am a coach and I've built this business up, I can consult them. And then some
mhm,
others that, maybe in the financial space and maybe have created a self-paced course. So I have one client
mhm,
now. She's amazing at financial support, taxes and all of that. So she's created a course around zero. So I'm helping her, kind of strategize that and things like that. So because I've done both sides of the spectrum, depending upon where their businesses decides to grow and scale, I can also support them in that aspect because I have built this coaching business up too.
I see. I see. That's pretty cool. I love what you said because you're like, I don't know if you guys have that term. I don't know. I still don't really understand what you mean by online business manager, but that's not the point. Point is I love what you said about having like like positioning yourself as a VA, being the vehicle to inserting yourself into like this business that's existing and then being able to offer like other points of value to the
Correct.
business owner because it is true like I feel like there's a lot of things because I've done something similar and I've always kind of struggled with like how to label it, but I have done it's like basically the same thing where you kind of step in and the business owner's like this is what I need right now, right? It's like, cool, well, I'll take care of that. Like, it's kind of, I'm just the person who just like gets stuff done for them, right? Like,
Correct.
I'm struggling with this. It's like, okay, well, here, you're almost like a person to bounce ideas off of, but then like go execute the ideas. And like every person who's a VA is going to come with like a different set of experiences, right? Like they might come, like you said, with kind of like a slant towards marketing in their background, or maybe more towards operations or something. And so like if you are able to like kind of insert yourself and you're working with that business owner and then they're like talking about whatever and you're like, oh, I have experience with that, I can help you with that,
That's
then
it.
you can kind of like expand it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It gets to kind of be whatever you make it. So I find a lot of, even when I was working with clients, I would jump in at one point
Mm-hmm.
and then it would just grow and expand to be like,
Mm.
at one stage, one of my clients, she wanted to bring in a mindset coach to support in her programs. And I'm like, I'm a qualified mindset coach. And she goes, oh, you could just do that too. So I then started jumping in and coaching, but I was also kind of running the back end of her business and onboarding her clients. So it's cool that you can just kind of add services as you want, but
Mm.
without getting confused within the beginning. You really only kind of want to focus on selling
Yeah.
outwardly and kind of focusing on the one thing, because you don't want to go out there and say you're a jack of all trades, because then you'll end up being
Yeah.
a master of none. So it's great that you get to go into that. And I always say to my clients, we're not the kind of industry where you just, you rock into the supermarket and pull off a service off the shelf and it's one price. It's kind of every client you need to kind of quote differently, because the scope of work is differently, but also some of them might want you ongoing, some of them might just want you for a project. So
Mm.
it's going to really be on a quote by quote basis depending upon where they need you. And some might only need you 2 hours a week, some might need you 20 hours a week. So it's going to be really different. So it's more about,
Yeah.
what are the client needs and can you actually solve their problem for them?
So do you do an hourly thing when you work with clients, or does it change depending on the circumstance?
Yeah, so for the VA business, if that's
Yeah.
what, yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's what I
generally,
meant.
yeah, we would always do retainer packages, and it would be normally a minimum 5 hours per week,
Mm.
and it would be an ongoing sort of monthly retainer. And the
Interesting.
reason for that is because anything less than 5 hours, you can't do a lot. There's not much
Yeah.
that you can do, and to
Yeah.
us, it was actually all about supporting our clients to get the best outcomes. So in the beginning, we were like, oh, we'll take anything, and then I soon realized this is kind of, very much like what you're saying in the beginning. It was boring. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to make changes in their business. I want to help them shift the needle forward. So then it actually got to, well, what is the purpose and the why that we help our clients? And this is kind of one of the big things that I teach my clients is find the clients that you align with that you can actually make a difference in their business. What is their purpose? And have that underlying satisfaction of helping them so that they can actually grow their business. So whatever that is. So don't just go in and just tick a box.
Mm.
Make it worthwhile work that you do so that you have that satisfaction, so that you have clients that you can potentially stay with long term. If you get bored, sure, you can go find other clients. Like
Yeah.
the clients that we have in our business now, they've all been with us since that first 4 months in business. And we're now
What?
coming into
Wow.
4 months because we've developed those relationships, and they're all about helping people and making moves and waves in their business. And I think that's where it comes down to. And that's where a lot of VAs, I think, fail, is they just find clients for the sake of finding clients rather than having that extra layer of satisfaction so
Mm.
that the boredness doesn't creep in, because you want to have meaning to what you do.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking about, because we were talking about like employee, stuff before, and it's kind of like I could imagine, you know, coming into a virtual assistant role and it feeling a lot like an employer-employee relationship.
Yeah. Yes, that is a big thing. I find that if they don't set the tone with that business owner in the beginning, that essentially this is a business to business relationship, and that just comes from the language and the way that we run that first call. If we let them run it as an interview, 9 times out of 10, that relationship is going to feel like an employee employer relationship, and it shouldn't
Interesting.
be. It is a business to business relationship and essentially a CEO to CEO. So it's more of a partner than an employee, because that's where the difference is. We don't want to feel like we're an employee. That's why we started our business in the beginning.
Exactly.
So we don't, we don't allow the client to depict the hours that we work or the days that we work. It's our business. It's like, I always like to use, say you were to hire a marketing agency or an ad agency in the typical term. You don't get to depict the time of day that they work.
Yeah.
You don't say you have to work for me 9 till 12. No, it is a package and they deliver the outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the same with here. Like, even if it's a 10-hour a week retainer, that's cool. That's 10 hours throughout the week. And we do the work when we choose. So then we get, essentially that work-life balance.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I never really thought about it like that, but that's a good way to like explain it, because ultimately, yeah, it's like you said, it's like I like the comparison of the marketing agency, because that's really how it is. Like, you hire them for a specific outcome, right? Not to be like, hey, I need you at this specific time or whatever. And you might have like certain days and times where you're expecting things to be done by, which is normal,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
But it is not like, oh, I need you during this specific time. No, that doesn't. Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. Correct. And I think that's really where the changes for a lot of virtual assistants is stepping up and actually being the business owner. And what it actually, you talked about the deadlines and things like that. What will happen is, generally speaking, once you kind of get used to that business owner and you kind of lean into the role, is you then still just get to make up the own deadlines because you know when things need to be done. So
Yeah.
then it still feels like we're coming up with them, but actually we're just coming up with them on behalf of the business owner. But for the business owner that you're working with, how much more of a benefit for them to be like, I don't even have to think about this. Stuff's just going to happen.
Yeah.
It just flows so much easier when everybody just does what they need to do.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I think too, because I've worked with a few different business owners to kind of like help them get stuff done, and I've found that a lot of them they just have a lot going on, like so much going on, that it's like a huge relief when someone can step in and kind of take charge, and they don't have to like babysit you or like make sure that you're doing your job. Like, if you actually step into a business and you take responsibility for like what needs to get done, and like you're proactive, you are like an extreme asset to a business owner, because for them, they're so used to just like standard employees coming in and like constantly having to be told what to do, and like having to like be on top of them to make sure they're getting stuff done. So if like you're proactive, see, that's what's so cool about it, is because you are a business owner, right? So it's like
Yeah.
you're almost like, here, I'm bringing my business into your business. And so you understand what it's like. Like, you want someone who's going to like get stuff done and take responsibility, not just be another employee. And so that's like super valuable to them when you can do that.
Yeah. 100%.
So you shifted into coaching. Was that like part of the plan from I know you kind of talked about how it progressed, but like, was that originally part of the plan eventually, or you were like, man, I like helping people?
Yeah. It was not the plan. I mean, to be fair, there was no plan. There was
Let's be
zero.
honest here.
There was zero plan. It
Yeah.
happened, and it was the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
And I still say, like, as devastating for everybody that COVID was, if COVID hadn't happened, I probably still would have been stuck in that hotel.
Yeah.
Like, 100%, there was no plan. It grew over time, and even I played that hokey pokey, like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, in terms of coaching and VA business, because what I found was, in the VA business, if I did 10 hours for a client, I could very much pull in that 1 week just $1,000 on that one client. But when you've got coaching clients that are on payment plans, to get that same revenue, say for them that week, if they were on a payment plan of $100 a week because it was a longer term program, I'd need 10 clients. So the effort into bringing more clients in was a lot harder. However, what it has allowed me to do is actually really bring back that flexibility of time and really be able to scale their business. So it's not just me. So I started off in one-to-one coaching, and then I realized again, it was restrictive. And then I moved into one-to-many, and that changed everything for me. And then I've been able to do multiple programs and multiple one-to-many to maximize on my time. So sometimes I might jump on a call and there could be anywhere between 20 to 30 people, and I'm only giving up 1 hour of my time. So we can scale that to as big as we like it. And it was probably only through coaching, and in terms of I invested in coaches myself, to then really discover how much more I can scale it by maximizing my time. But like I said, when I started helping people, I didn't even know what a coach was. Had no idea. When I first invested in a coach for myself, I thought I was investing in business coaching, and it wasn't business coaching at all. It was NLP coaching, which
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's neuro-linguistic programming, and essentially supports you to break through all of the limiting beliefs, all of the generational trauma, and really kind of step into who we are as humans and who we want to be. And that changed everything for me. And I went on to invest, over $50,000 in coaches myself to really just level up and learn everything that I could, so that
Mm-hmm.
not only am I a bigger, better person, a better CEO, a better leader for the industry, is I now have so many more strategies, skills that I can now support my clients with, that they can level up their business. So I always find that anytime that I hit a ceiling, generally in terms of growth or revenue or team, I go
Mm-hmm.
and invest in an expert that is kind of essentially where I want to be going.
Yeah.
They come in and I learn everything that I can, and then be able to kind of quantum leap past that and push past that. And this is just so much power. So I'm not just out there telling everybody to get a coach to help them in their business. I'm also getting coaching myself, because I think that you are the product as well, and the fact that I keep on leveling up, I'm just going to be able to provide so much more to my clients.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I've done some coaching myself, and it is really funny how, like, I think a lot of people who don't like utilize a coach, um like, it's become kind of like a joke on the internet, right? Like, oh, like, coaches, like, oh, you got suckered into paying for a coaching program. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I just laugh because I'm like, look, if you don't understand the value of coaching, that just shows that you've never gotten coaching. Because, like, when you get it, you realize, like, holy cow. See, to me, coaching is like, it's like a book, but in person form. Right? So, like,
Yeah.
whenever you read a book, you're kind of like, wow, I was able to take, like, that person took, like, all of their experiences and, like, packaged it up into this little thing that I was able to read in, like, a few days, and now I know what they know. And, like, that's like a huge thing, right? That's like a giant leap forward in your life. And then coaching is kind of like, okay, cool, but now I get to ask that person questions.
Yeah. It's especially when you have those big like crossroads in your business, you're like, well, I could go left or I could go right. And though I've also learned there's no wrong way, you just get to learn and do it differently the next way. But also, why not have the expert that you can be like, so this is what I'm thinking, and they go, oh, we've actually been in that situation before. You need to go that way, because that way is not good.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I would say that there's so many big business questions that I have all the time, because I'm always
Mm.
pivoting, I'm always changing, I'm always growing. And just to have the clarity, like I have my coach on WhatsApp, I'm just like, this is the big question today. What do we need to do? And it's just to get so much clarity, it's priceless.
Yeah, no, it's super valuable. So, what is it that you offer now? Like, if someone's listening, like, what is it that you want them to hear?
Yeah, cool. We have two signature programs, and one is for those getting started. It's a 12-week program that is supported by our head coach. And they not only get fortnightly group calls that they can jump on and ask questions in the moment, sort of rapid fire style. They have a Facebook group that they can ask a question anytime that they like. And they're then supported by 12 weeks of modules to take them through the foundations, and then some sort of very early business strategies in terms of building their client base. Then we move into the Scaling VA Collective, which is essentially for those that are already established as virtual assistants or online business managers to really scale their business. And it's a 12-month program, because business is not a marathon. Business is a marathon, it's not a sprint.
Yeah.
So we take them through a lot more of those higher strategies, the growing a team or how to scale without a team, building funnels, ads, all of those sorts of things. And that is supported by 2 group calls a week plus a whole lot of modules. And they also get a free retreat throughout that as well. And we're going to
Awesome.
Bali this year in June. So they get to come and up level in Bali their business as well.
Wow, very cool, very cool. And so, if someone wanted to, take advantage of this, how would they do that?
Yeah, just reach out to me on Instagram, which is Sasha Eburne __, and we can just have a chat in the DMs.
Awesome, I love that. Well, Sasha, I really appreciate you coming on. I feel like we had a great conversation, and yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
No, that was a great conversation. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Okay, thanks. Talk to you soon. Thanks for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or share it with someone who'd appreciate it. For everything I have to offer, visit howtobeaperson.co.